So like I was saying, my phone cut out, but I'm back. Anyways, so like I was saying, like being a respectful, solid person versus being a kiss ass are not exactly the same thing. And I know a lot of younger people, they would tend to confuse these things, but they're honestly not the same thing. And when I say it makes you stand out, I mean it makes you stand out to the people who matter. Like people who actually matter, people who are actually going to take you places, people who are actually going to have the type of power to put you into the right position and the proper positions, or this the right and sort of proper people who you need to be around to properly and authentically grow into the person you're supposed to be around. Once they recognize or see or see those things, those are hyper attractive traits. But to the people who don't matter, to the people who are losers, to the people who are rude, to the people who are disrespectful, to the people who are greedy, to the people who are just, terrible people and just lack waste men and women, those people, they don't value stuff like that. In fact, they don't even notice stuff like that. They don't even care for stuff like that. In fact, in some cases, they're going to look at stuff like that and think that you're being weak or something like that. Now, I will say that there is like a, should I say, a level where you can overdo this. I will say that does exist, but I am saying that for a basis, having the your yes ma'am, no sir, yes ma'am, no sirs, excuse me, please and thank you, stuff like that. I'm not going to joke with you. It is stuff that can really take you far. And you want to know something? You want to know something, and don't ever like mistake this. And I know I'm not trying to get you to be a kiss ass, but I'm just trying to show you the results of what happens when you are a stand-up human being. I remember when I was at it was at a restaurant or something, right? Now you could say this is something small, but stay with me, right? I was at a restaurant or something, right? So when I was at a restaurant, what happened basically was this. What happened basically was that the what is it? The guy or the waiter who was there, right? I remember I was waiting in line. I forgot what was for something, right? I think it was for my order or something, right? And what happened is that like I remember I was talking to him, right, and I was talking the way I was talking, right, you know me. And then like I remember I asked him, "Man, please get this," and then he gave me like a whole pack of something, and he even like didn't even charge me for it. And I asked him why not. He was like, "Well, because you're such a respectful person." Now I could only imagine that being a waiter, right, especially working at a restaurant, right? You're meeting people who are coming in there with a little bit of money in their pocket, right? They have a little bit of pocket change in their pocket, right? And people genuinely treat waiters like shit. Yes, I know it sounds insane in 2025 that there's people who still unironic, even if you did that ironically, I'd still look at you like you're fucking crazy and check you on that. But there's still people who do stuff like that. Why? And I'll get to why people are dickheads in a minute, but just as a little, people are dickheads and like that is for a lot of reasons. One is because a lot of people are poorly raised. I'm just going to be very honest. A lot of people are poorly raised. They're raised by moms or dads, aunties and uncles who are the epitome of dysfunctional in one capacity or another. Right? And number two is that people don't face consequences for their actions. Nobody's ever been checked for what they do. Right? And it's very important that they do, because you want to know something, right? I would have probably lent towards being that way, and I probably wouldn't have been conscious that I was being that way had I was not. I was at a government office when I was really young, right? And I was talking about the birth certificate. It was something about my birth certificate, and I remember I was being very rude, and in retrospect, I would slap the shit out of myself. What that lady did, she was like, "What? Who the hell are you talking to like that? What school do you go to?" And then she stood up and left me like that. Now, ever since from that day, it taught me that always be respectful to people. And I'm so grateful that that lady did that to me, because it taught me to be respectful. Now, within my own encounters, the way I am towards people, I am passing off this lesson the same way it was passed off to me. It's not out of hate, it's not out of anger, it's not out of envy, it's not out of any of those things. It's to teach you a lesson and pass it forward the same way it was passed on to me. But I'll talk about why my methods were a little bit wrong afterwards. But yeah, people are poorly raised, they're terrible. And I also want to add on to the fact that many people are very small people inside. Make no mistake about that. They're very small, insecure people. So whenever they get a little bit of money, a little bit of this, a little bit of power, and whatever whittle way that even looks like, They feel like it's a perfect opportunity to express all the nastiness and bitterness that they have from the inside, that comes from their insecurities, from their ill management, and just all their ugliness inside. Like, the saying we say here all the time, people are fucking weird. But back to the main point. When you are angry, step number one is dissecting why you are angry. Right? So when you dissect, you need to literally sit down. Why exactly? What made you mad? What about the situation made you mad? And I'll tell you what happened in my situation. So what happened, like I was saying, we were in class, whatever. The guy goes outside. I don't know. Christ knows what he's busy doing, right? And then some time back comes back. He comes back. He comes in, right? I'm right over here. You see where my hand is? He's here. He takes out his phone, wants to take a picture of my stuff. Now I'm like, what the hell? Now, the thing that pisses me off is that manners are a very big thing to me. And I know for some of you might be like, dude, it's not a big deal. It's like, for me, it's a fucking big deal, because respect and manners are a very fucking big deal to me. Right? And like, I noticed this guy had that problem beforehand. But now, had the teacher not been here, I would have told him straight up, if you want me to help you, you have to use your please and your thank yous over here. You can't just say whatever you want to say to him. But me knowing how this kind of teacher is, she's kind of a bitch. I'm not going to lie. She's annoying in a weird way. And especially me having the experience that I have with teachers and knowing like what tiny annoying little people they can be and how much they seriously like development on their own, right? I understand how that might look like, oh, you don't want to help another student and I'm not going to help you in the future or something like that. So I let it slide. Now, that made me mad. It made me fucking mad because I wanted to fucking tell him off. And maybe not scream and yell about it, but be very straightforward on like, hey, this is how you should fucking interact with me. You understand? And set my boundary on what that exactly looks like. Now, I can see that the Negro now might not like me too much or whatever the fuck. And quite frankly, I don't give a shit. Because let me tell you something, guys. People who are poorly raised, people who don't know how to communicate, people who don't know how to be respectful, people who don't know how to carry themselves, people who don't know how to behave and act, right? And people who don't understand or see the value, even know how to talk and treat people with respect and dignity and whatever. People who don't really see those things as big deals. I am telling you now. I'm telling you right the fuck now. You are entering a gigantic world of trouble if you are going to head in and be friends with these types of people, and even worse, keep these people in your life. I'm not even remotely trying to be funny with you, whatever. These people are the definitions of problems. This is not me like I'm a mad hater or some shit. I'm being honest. I'm being honest. And another thing that I want to remind you guys, and I know a lot of you guys, you're young people. You're young guys, young girls, young people out there. You want to have friends. You want to be cool. You want to be Mr. Cool Guy. You want to be Mr. Cool Girl or Mrs. Cool Girl, whatever the fuck that is, right? And one of the things that I learned from, and I talked about this before, from Patrick Bet-David. And I know the guy's kind of weird and he has his own things, right? But one of the things, especially when he was making content back in like early 2020s days, right? He said, for young men, be impressed by the right things. And I know, like, whoa, what does that mean? Be impressed by the right things. Don't be impressed by some guy who has 5 women twerking on his fucking Lamborghini or some shit. That's not fucking impressive. Anyone can just go buy 5 prostitutes or 5 strippers or 5 working gals, whatever the hell that even looks like. Anyone can go rent a Lamborghini and get a camera guy. Anyone can do that. Like, if you have a little bit of pocket change in you, you could go do that literally tomorrow. Or even today, depending on what time of day. If it's early in the morning, you could do that today. You could. I swear to God, you could. But somebody who is for example, so something that's like respectable, something that you guys should be looking up to, is somebody who, for example, they've been married, like it's like a man who's been married to his wife for 35 years. They have kids who aren't hooked on drugs, who aren't fucking weirdos. One child is a doctor, the other child is a lawyer, the other child is a business owner of sorts. They also have amazing families of their own. He's been a phenomenal businessman, or I don't know, doctor, whatever. The entire community loves and respects this man. That is something you should be proud of. You'd be like, wow, how does somebody do something like that? But because of a lot of young people, you guys look up to these dumbass rappers. You look at stupid ass rappers with their stupid little chains or these dumbass streamers, and you think those guys are cool. I'll be the first person to tell you there's nothing cool about those people. And I remember I talked about this some time back. I remember there was some stupid video. It was some AMP, Kai Cenat people, Jesus fucking Christ. And I could tell these guys in their heads, they think that they're so cool. They're dressed like I don't even know what. Dressed like I don't even they look like they dressed up like out of the garbage. Like, I'm just being honest. Like it's like super Fendi and Marie and whatever. And it's like it's so try hard, it's so pompous, it's so childish, it's so superficial, and it reads, and to make it even worse, because that's not even the bad part per se. The worst part about it was the way that they were acting, the way they were behaving, and the way they were talking towards people, talking down on people, ha 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 ha, as if there was something fucking funny. I didn't get it. And it's like that was their behavior. Oh, look at me, I'm rich and I'm a streamer, I'm famous. And it's just like people who behave and see the world in that type of lens. I will be the first person to tell you, if you haven't heard, those are the lamest people on earth. Lamest people on earth. Like, I have zero interest in watching some stupid Kai Cenat stream. Because also another thing I will say, that especially for a lot of young people, number one, most of y'all are poor. I said it out loud. It's true. I'm not mad. It is what it is. I grew up poor too, kind of. And like, you kind of vicariously live through these people. You see Kai Cenat buy a fucking Lamborghini. You think, oh yeah, you happy. Oh yeah, but like, where's your Lamborghini at? You see some guy, you see some, and I think a lot of these quote unquote feel good stories of watching rich people, whatever the hell, or lucky people, whatever the hell, people kind of live vicariously through these people, and it kind of makes them think that they're gonna get there, or that they are there, even though that's not necessarily reflective of their own reality. And I think there's something to talk about with, there's a difference between watching stuff for entertainment versus living through people. And I think for a lot of younger people, they kind of confuse the two. They're not exactly separating the two the way that they should be. And I'm not mad. I used to be like that too. I used to watch people like Logan Paul. I used to watch people like I said, like Logan Paul, and who else? These other streamers, not streamers at that stage. I know there were some cool people back in the day. If you guys remember Sneeko, if you even remember who Sneeko was, that guy was cool. Now I know now you watch his content, you're like, dude, that was like super basic. And you're right, it is basic. Now it is. But back then, when you were like 4 or 5 years younger than what you are, 4, 5, 6, 7 years younger than what you were right now, when he was saying the stuff they were saying, he was like your favorite YouTuber's favorite YouTuber. And like, YouTube was a different place back then. YouTube used to be so fun back then, it wasn't even a joke. Like, nowadays we're weird and Mr. Beast. And anyways, back to how to deal with anger. So you got to look at why exactly that you're angry and what exactly made you mad. For me, what exactly made me mad was the disrespect, or not having the respect and of being able to have manners. That's the thing that made me mad. And the thing that made me double mad, or even like made the situation even more weird for me, was that I wasn't able to fully articulate that, because I was thinking about like, what was the teacher gonna think of me in this? And I know people are gonna be like, oh, you shouldn't care about that. It's like, yeah, but the thing is with teachers, is they have some more control over your marks and grades in certain capacities, and like, you know, I just didn't know how exactly, because it seems like she likes him a little bit more than she's annoyed at me or something like that. She's kind of annoying like that, right? And also the thing that made me side check this guy a little bit is because when I was talking, he like looks confused or some shit, as if like, oh, this is the first time somebody tells me to have respect or something like that. And like another thing is, I remember some time back we were writing a test or something. I remember I was looking out the window or whatever, and it was in his way. He looks at me like I'm trying to fucking rob him or some shit. So you combine all these things, and long story short, I'm not feeling the guy too heavy, And another thing is like that pisses me off, and this guy does this all the time. He tries to ask me for stuff if it's on a paper, if it's this or that, and I just end up saying, I don't got it, I don't know, I don't have it, or just straight up, nah, figure it out yourself. Because like honestly, like people just can't keep on using you. Because guys, I'm gonna be very honest, and this goes back to the video I made earlier on today. You need to make people earn to be around you. You need to make people earn to, they need to earn to be around you. Yes, I said the words earn. And how exactly do they earn themselves? By being solid people themselves. I'm not saying people gotta jump up and do jumping jacks for me. I didn't even necessarily say that. In fact, you're just asking people to kiss up to you. I'm saying that you need to understand that a real recognizes real. And when real recognizes real, long story made short, um, that guy, not that guy, what is it? You have to understand that those people, by them being real solid people, you're going to recognize and see that. But the people who aren't solid or real, one way or another, they'll end up fading out by the way they're supposed to. So for a lot of the times for me now, if somebody doesn't expressively, if somebody doesn't like, if I don't overtly see somebody being real, I am genuinely not taking them any type of serious. Even if they aren't necessarily toxic or rude or whatever the weird label of the month is, I'm not going to take them seriously because they haven't shown me to be real. They haven't shown me to be solid, a solid young man or woman. And I'll tell you for the most part, when you're living life with this type of mentality that I'm putting on you right now, you're not going to have many friends because there aren't many friends for you to have. There aren't many friends to be had to begin with. I used to believe and think that, oh yeah, people are toxic, but they have amazing friendships. No, not really. No, not technically. No, not really. That's not true. Make no mistake, no. Like, trust me, these weird little friend groups are full of guys and girls. Trust me and believe these friend groups, like, they have stupid problems within them. Stupid problems within them. Like, I'm not even joking. It'll be some shit like, like some scummy things happening among themselves. You know why? Because they're scumbags. And don't think that, oh, you see them laughing over there, you see them sitting together all laughing and smiling. It's all insecurity that's sitting on that table, that's sitting at that table. It's all insecurity. It's all weakness. It's all spinelessness. It's all stupidity. Now, it ain't your responsibility to save a single person. That's their journey with God and their journey and their personal journey. And hey, these videos will be here 4 or 5 years, 6, 7, 8 years when they're ready for them. I think. I don't know. I might delete these things. But anyways, my point is that I'm saying that, like, that's the thing I'm trying to express to you guys right now. Right? So not only that, but in addition to this as well, step 2 of understanding this, now we have to figure out how exactly should we how exactly should we move about to not feel this emotion again? Or more specifically, how can we avoid or be better in these situations again? Now, this is going to be the uncomfortable part that some people don't want to admit. Now, I'm not gonna lie. My general pace towards this type of thing is my general pace towards this, and it is true, and I will admit this is very true, is that you need to get into a position and point in your own life, and I'm still standing on this point, even though I'm about to say what I'm about to say. You need to get to a position and point within your own life where you do not need, or aren't, more specifically, aren't within the mercy of somebody else. Because and I noticed this with another experience that I had with a dumbass teacher who was trying to be weird towards me and all this other stuff, trying to get too close and all this other weird stuff. I don't know if he was trying to make fun of me or whatever the fuck. And I would have fucking did some shit. I would have twice already. I would have done a lot to this guy. But the time there was my other teacher who's there who marks my stuff. And obviously, if I'm gonna give this guy lip and all this other like BS towards, and just all this other stuff, for me, I'm defending myself, but I'm acutely aware that for her, she'll look at it like this student is being disrespectful to a teacher. I know how this game works, so I decided to stay quiet about it, not because I wanted to. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, I would have been did shit. You understand? I would have been did a lot of things to not only to this nigga. Well, not in this case. I would have just told him off, and if you wanted to do something about it, then let's fucking go. But you understand what I'm saying, right? But I understand how the game works sometimes. You understand? But I'm trying to say that the number one thing I'm trying to tell you guys is that, like, if you guys aren't in the position where you guys are not, let me say, quote unquote, on top, I don't know how to put that, you are always gonna always be in the weaker position. And I know this, and I heard this from my mom when she was had a job. I heard this from my dad when she had a job, and stuff like that. Is that, like, when you are in workspaces, right? You're in workspaces and stuff like that, especially with bosses, managers, and even some coworkers. You can't act and respond the way you want to act and respond simply because of, like, that the situation was gonna you're gonna end up getting kicked out of school. Especially with my last place, if I was to, like, flip out on somebody like that, I know for a fact I would have got expelled, and that would have derailed and hurt a lot of things. So am I trying to say eat it? Not exactly per se, and I'm gonna get to what I'm gonna say, but I am trying to say that, like, keep the bigger picture in your mind with what you're about to do and what you want to do. Just keep that bigger picture in mind, because, like I'm saying, it's very easy for you to get mad, whether it's your mom, your sister, some bullshit that happened at a workplace or at a dumbass place. It's very easy for you to get caught up in that moment, in that place. But when you start looking into the situations and into the facts, you really start understanding that it's really that you aren't the one dictating the situation. You aren't dictating the situation, and you aren't the one in control. Because if you are in the one who's control, whether you are outright controlling the situation, or more specifically, you are within a space full of people who you agree and feel comfortable with, whichever one it is, when those two things aren't being necessarily met or overlapping, I can guarantee you at one point or another, it's going to be some weird things happening. It's going to be some disrespect. It's going to be some bullshit. I don't care how tall you are, how much muscles you do or don't have. I can guarantee you that. Because this situation is unmarked. It is unsafe. It is unknown. You understand? So, that's something I'm going to put out there, right? But I will say this too. Now, no matter what, right? If somebody's going to put their hands on you, hey, it is what it is. It's go time. If someone's going to touch your property, it is what the fuck it is. It's go time. You don't touch people's property. You don't touch people's them. And I felt like this was overlapping on my property perspective, even though they didn't touch my property, but still. But I'm trying to say that, like, look, in those types of situations, especially in workplaces or whatever, I will encourage you that express your point, but as respectfully as possible. And in my honest, dead ass opinion, if someone wants to get mad at the fact, or get mad, or doesn't like it, it is quite literally their problem after that. Because one thing that I can sit here in good faith say to you guys is, live this life of fear. Live this life of, oh, let's be scared and never say anything. Oh, let's be scared and never say anything. Oh, let's be scared and never say anything. I'm never going to say that to you. I'm never going to say that to you because, like, I remember what Dr. Peterson said. Now, I know Dr. Peterson is a bit, I get it, right? He's a bit weird, and, he has these things and whatever, right? But I did remember one of these things. He was like, when he was at the University of Christ knows in Canada, I think it was Toronto, or some other place. I think maybe Ottawa. Anyways, he was at a university professor. He said many professors in his university and even other universities said to him that, oh, I have the same opinions as you, but once I get to that position, once I get to the next position, oh yeah, that's when I'll start speaking up. And then they would move up, and then they'll say the same thing, then they'll move up, and they'll never say the same thing. Now, the thing about Dr. Peterson, at least for me, in my opinion, I feel like he didn't attack certain things as tactfully as he should have been. And I do feel like at a certain stage he was trying to be a bit clickbaity, a little bit click farmy, trying to get his little army of incel right-wing people with him. I do believe that. But, aside from that, I do believe it kind of got like that at a certain point. But with the message I'm pushing to you is that I'm not saying you need to go out there and be rude and disrespectful per se. But you do need to just be straight and honest. You address what happened and say that you don't want that to happen again. You don't add in extra emotions of what I feel, you feel, you feel. You just deal with what happened. You just speak facts directly. And you express how that's not going to happen or what they should do after the fact. Now, a lot of people are going to be very surprised by that type of straightforwardness. That's why I think he had that weird face on his face, right? He pulled that weird face on me because a lot of people, I'm going to be very honest, they're not used to people being straightforward with them. They're not used to that. They don't understand that. A lot of people when you're being straightforward with them, they interpret that as disrespect. I don't know why exactly, but they interpret that as disrespect, right? They don't actually know what disrespect actually is. But fuck them, I don't care. They're not my students. I don't give a fuck. But anyways, my point is like that's what a lot of people do, but that's their issue. Like I think like you guys have to remember something, right? A lot of people are going to try to talk to you and make it seem as if they were going to do something good or special or wonderful for you anyways. But in reality, they were never going to do any of that stuff anyways, ever at all. They were never. Like, and I also think like this is something that permeated within my thinking as a student in these situations. I was busy thinking that if I expressed myself, I was going to be, manipulated at the back end of because of marks. But the more I really start thinking about it, that was very unlikely to happen. Because, when we're handing in our shit, it's like 30 other people handing in their stuff at the same time. And that teacher probably has 78 billion things happening at the same time. And so what, student A and student B got into shit, so what? You know? Like I'm just gonna fall in their mind with the other people. So I could have stood up for myself. A little bit more, advocated a little bit more straightforward than what I should have. And that's something that I feel like I really should have done, but I fell into that mindset again, and I fell into it again, and I'm kind of mad at myself for it. But at the same time, now I know I know what to do about it next time. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm not fully comfortable doing that because I understand the implications that may come with it, especially from that teacher, especially. But I guess you live and you learn. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this. I'm not one of these guys who's gonna come up here and say, yeah, yeah, act hard, say hard. And I'm not here to, and to be honest, right? I'm not here to say you need to fight about everything and every little thing and everybody and everything. I'm not exactly here because at the same time, I'm not even fighting. People are their perceptions. I'm just speaking straight about me. But, and this is really the part where I haven't really figured it out exactly. And I know it's kind of a nuanced thing. And on a bigger scale, I'm saying to myself that, you know what, dude, like, you should just forget about it because, like, look, at the end of the day, just avoid weird people, like, sit on the other end of class, if anything. And if he comes around again or whatever, just literally say that, listen, like, if you're not going to say please or thank you, go ask somebody else and just keep it simple. That's what a part of me is saying. And that's probably the part of me I'm going to just stick with. And if the teacher somehow interprets that as being weird, okay, cool. Then I'll just write it out however the fuck I write it out as. Because, like, it is what it is. My marks will be my marks, and I'll just pass however the hell that even looks like. So at least at the bare bones, say it in a calm, straight voice, and then just carry on. And then whoever I'm talking to, they can just interpret however they feel like interpreting it, and that'll just really be the end of it. That's really, I think, where I'm really leaning into. Because, like, on a larger scale, something I want to tell you guys is that never forget the way people treated you. Never forget the way people treated you. Never forget the way people behaved towards you. Never forget that type of stuff. Because, like, one thing I will say to you is this, is like, what happens a lot of the time is that, like, guys or people, they get treated like shit for whatever reason. Maybe you're not cool enough, maybe you didn't have swag, maybe you didn't have money, or maybe it was a mixture, maybe you were ugly or short, or whatever the hell, right? Cool. And then further on down the line, for whatever reason, you meet up with these people again, or whatever the hell that even looks like, or you whatever it's called, right? And then some of these people, when they meet up with you again or whatever, they still think you're the same person you were way back when, which honestly I don't even give a fuck anymore. But my point I'm trying to say to you is that this is not the time for you to now be like, oh no, it's fine, we're okay, we're chill now. Fuck that. I am not chill with none of them people. If I saw them, I still harbor hatred for them. I don't give a fuck. And I'm not gonna go out and do people like whatever, because I don't want to risk my freedom for dumbasses. But I'm just saying, like, it's not going to be a chill and cool suave moment with me. It's not. Unless we were cool and suave back then I'll be cool and suave now. But then if we weren't like that back then, we ain't going to be like that right now. It ain't going to be like that. even with this dude, like right now I'm mad as shit and I'm gonna stay mad as shit. Now people are gonna be like, oh, are you holding grudges? Are you holding grudges? It's not called holding grudges, it's called keeping account. That's not the same thing. I'm not doing this out of anger randomly. I'm doing this out of safety because once you understand somebody is red, once you understand somebody is marked as unmarked or red, you need to understand that your life or your safety or your sanity is now at war. It's at stake now. And you need to protect that shit with your life. So rarely when you see this person, obviously when you see this person, you gotta have a little bit more energy now. You could be as tired can be, but then now, whoops, we done woke up this time. What's it called now, cowboy? You know, and you gotta always to keep that guard up until somebody outright comes up to you and says, "Hey man, look, what I did was messed up, and I apologize for that, and I shouldn't have done that." You'll never get that apology, by the way. But until somebody actually does that, then you can put that guard down. We can chill. That's a good sign, good person, whatever. But until then, my ass still stay mad. My ass still stay mad, and I'm always gonna stay on my bicycle when it comes to that person or those people. You know? But like I was saying, but I'm honestly saying to you guys, whether you're at work, whether you're at wherever, never feel like you should feel scared to stand up for yourself or whatever the hell. People should never feel comfortable disrespecting you or whatever the hell it's called. I don't care what it's called. Because this whole situation where you don't want to speak, you don't want to say nothing, you don't want to do this, you don't want to say nothing, you don't want to say anything like that. That whole situation, that whole up and down, it's genuinely not an up and down that is nice. And I truly do believe with all my entire heart that life is too short, life is too precious, life is too beautiful for you to sit here and every 2 minutes or something, you're always the one being slighted, you're always the one being put down, you're always the one, you're always the one, you're always the one. I don't believe that. I genuinely don't believe that it needs to be you every 2 minutes like that. I don't. Because I'll tell you what, when you're living like that, when you're always like that, and somebody who's lived like that, that stuff takes a hit on your self esteem. It takes a hit on your self esteem. It takes a hit on your self worth. It takes a hit on who you are. It takes a hit on how you feel about yourself. And we don't need any more negative. Life is already hard as is. You got too many stuff going on as is. And we don't need an extra, whatever the fuck it's called, making us feel or think or taking away brain energy or brain power from what we need to. You know? So like I'm just trying to say to you, family, like just understand like who you talking to and understand that like that person, that girl, that guy, most of the time, them people, like, you understand who you're talking to with them. You're not talking to a feathers and rainbows. You're talking to a wolf in sheep's clothing in one capacity or another. And you always got to step accordingly to that. That's why, like, with personal info or whatever the hell, like hyper personal info, I ain't telling shit. I ain't telling them shit. We ain't friends. We ain't close like that. Like the most I'm gonna do with you is like, hey, what's going on? That's it. Hey man, what's going on? It's just a hello. That's it. That's as far as I'm not even gonna talk about last night's game. Fuck that. I ain't doing none of that shit. So like, yeah, my peoples. Going back to how to deal with anger. Let's start off from the top. Number one, Number one, why are you angry? What exactly made you angry? What exactly made you mad? Was it the disrespect? Was it the disrespect? Was it was it the callousness? Was it the betrayal? Was it this? Was it that? Whatever. Get down to that specifically. Step number two. How do I never feel that emotion ever again in my life? How do I not do that? Okay, we find out that okay, this person betrayed you. We find out that okay, cool. Next time we're going to have more parameters before we trust people with a certain level or caliber of things. Or maybe, something in my case, we find out like, okay, you got disrespected at work, school, whatever. We now, a huge prerogative and MO for us is that we're going to work really hard for us to never be in a situation for us to be disrespected like that. Or at least we're going to be in situations where it's going to be more easily available for us to stand up for ourselves. Step number three, we find out, step number three, we look at on a more practical level, how can we not get into stuff or shit like that ever again? Whether it's maybe say, hell, maybe switching a new place if that's even possible, right? Or maybe even be, better yet, avoiding dusty people, dusty men and women who even get you into that to begin with. And number four is very important, is the fact that like you gotta ride the wave. I said it. You gotta ride the wave. You have to ride the wave that is life. Like life is a wave, and I think like for a lot of us, especially people like me, we're people who value and want stability and things to be okay all the time and things to be fine. And I think just be okay within the chaos of things. And I know that sounds really weird and like really like oh my god, but it's true. It's like just being okay within the chaos of things and just essentially like I was saying, riding that wave and everything that it comes with. And in addition to this, do not be scared of saying that. I'm not saying you need to yell out, freak out, scream, shout, swear, but just keep it a beam. Just be like, hey man, I'm gonna need some space. You're getting too close to me. Okay, calm down, space. Minimal words about, hey man, your pleases and your thank yous. Simple. You understand? The less words, the better. It's like, I'm gonna need my space. You're getting too close. Space. Thank you. Something along those lines. Simple, straightforward. People can just take it however they want to take it. And you always got to stay on guard to say that because nobody can like look at you like you're an evil person because you said that. You're only an evil person when you start talking too much after the fact. You start talking about why they stank and they evil, they nasty, whatever, whatever the fuck, or you start swearing at them or whatever, and you start swearing in curse words and stuff like that. When you start doing that, that's when people start building opinions about you. But when you're just saying space, I need space, you're getting too close. When you talk like that, that's just building boundaries. So I think that's the main thing that I learned myself included, and I'm passing on to you guys as well. So it may not be easy. And I know with teachers, dog, I know with power higher ups, you're gonna have to like hold them like eggs, because like they're fragile little shits. But at least with everybody else, man, hey, keeping it at being 1075. And another thing I'll tell you is that, not everything has to be the way that it's put up and believed for you to be, right? Like for me, like I have my own ideas of building my own school, building my own curriculum, building my own universities, building my own companies, and etc. And doing my stuff my way. Because I think for a lot of people, they want to clasp onto people's things, they want to clasp onto people's this, they want to clasp onto people's that. And usually, in my experience, what I've seen, it's not right. It's not right in the sense that you're following, but also like the things that person that you're trying to clasp onto, they're not getting everything correct. They might be getting some things correct, no doubt, but it's not to say that everything that they did or they're doing or that they're did it's okay and it's fine and it's chill. It's genuinely not like that. It's genuinely not even like that. So like when I tell you that like it's a real time thing that I'm saying like you know you ain't got to or you shouldn't have been like like when I say that it's a real thing. So trying to talk to you guys in a real way. So guys, that's really the video. I hope this video helped you guys out, but I really just don't want you guys to mess up your lives. And look, man, at the end of the day, no matter what happened, fuck, man, you live and you learn. And I know that sounds corny as hell, but I mean it, dude. Like one of the sayings that I was saying, especially in the beginning, especially I used to say some time back, I used to say it would be a shame for something to happen to you and for you never not to learn. It's very important that each time something happens to you, you learn, you get better, you go forward, you get better, you get better, you get better, you learn. Doesn't mean you'll never make mistakes. You'll always keep making mistakes, but you'll make less mistakes. You'll be able to handle those situations better. And that's the main thing. So, I'm just saying that's really that, my guy. I'll see you in the next one. I know it's been great. It's been real funky. And love you guys. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out. Whip it, whip it, whip it. Hey.